No sums on anyone.
Jinx has nothing. Xayah has
They're
nothing.
stuck a bit.
They're just gonna play for Baron.
No flash on.
Oh, nice!
Oh.
Cookie. Okay, nice.
Slow down, Danny. Chill.
Yeah. Nice, you got one. Oh, nice!
Yes!
And, top.
Yes!
You're top. We can go top. This top in here, guys.
Okay, guys, listen. Everyone listen.
Yeah.
Breathe now, okay?
Yeah, okay.
Guys.
Yeah, we get top in here first.
Chill.
And
Danny.
Looking at you. Get a penta.
You want another pentakill? Wow, Danny, you are the best player in the world.
Nice,
What
Danny.
the fuck?
Nice.
Oh, God.
That was sounds of the game presented by Bose, the epic pentakill from EG's Danny during the spring semifinals. Maybe the most epic play in LCS history, if I'm going to be completely honest, a Baron steal into a pentakill. But I wanted to talk about here in State Farm Neighborhood Tactics that they do a lot for Danny to put him in position. If you look at some of the stats, he has the highest gold percentage of any AD carry at MSI and the highest damage percentage of any AD carry at MSI. But with that, they take fewer dragons than any team at MSI. And oftentimes they're trading dragon position to give gold to Danny. So this is from game one of their finals. And I'm just going to call attention to the mini-map right here. Dragon's coming up in about 35 seconds. So basically, it's this wave coming out of base that you're going to want to fight over normally to take Dragon. And they're in a position to do so, right? They have a strong AD carry. The gold is pretty even, but basically they have Ryze up top lane. He could go back to base, teleport to mid lane. They'd have mid prio, and they could basically just kind of take position of Dragon and get in for a pretty solid second Dragon take. But they don't do that at all. So I'm going to speed it up a little bit here. They actually use this mid push to move into topside, get position so that they can safely drop the Herald for Danny, which isn't too uncommon, where you're going to deprioritize your Dragon setup. But after this, actually, they would technically have another chance to still set up Dragon, because if I pull up the minimap one more time, you can see, right, they still actually have mid-prio. They've moved Ornn up from the bottom lane. So they could still actually move everybody down and still consider taking this Infernal Dragon. But what they actually do is they fake fogging, and then they stick around an extra beat to get Danny even more turret gold. Now this completely makes it so there's no way they can get Dragon. As you see, 100 Thieves is able to take it. But EG really doesn't care, because if you're looking now, think of all the gold Danny just added to this inventory compared to the enemy AD carry. This is the most important objective for EG. It's the difference in Danny's wallet to the other AD carry's wallet and how they're going to team fight against this. Because in this particular game, the 100 Thieves team comp was very poor at getting onto Jinx. But that's basically it. Just look for EG to deprioritize dragons and find tricky ways to get Danny gold. Because yes, they help him with gold, but he's very good with it.
Now the question is, how much will the meta impact this a little bit? That Jinx and Aphelios. We've seen Aphelios once today. Seen a couple other picks in that bottom lane. Samira showing up as well. Danny, the danger player, first international tournament for both him and Jojo. Are you nervous at all about EG's ability to adapt to the meta?
I mean, absolutely. Adapting to the stage even, right? Like, they're going to Korea here. Yes, they have 3 experienced international players, but they also have 2 players under 20. They got a 17-year-old mid laner and an 18-year-old AD carry who have been very good, but you're always concerned about nerves, and you're always concerned about what your meta read is going to be. I think Jinx Aphelios was great for Danny, and for the most part, it looks like that's moving away a little bit.
Yeah, but to give him, the benefit of the doubt as well coming in here, they've already been in front of that huge of a crowd. Play that best of 3 as well. They have veteran players still on the roster, and yes, the question mark of course lays on Jojopyun and Danny as well coming into it, but it also just seems like there are already players who feeds on this attention.
Yeah. You
saw the Danny pentakill.
Yes.
You heard the crowd in the background. That was just a continuously raw throughout the entire play.
Danny and EG step up in front of the crowd, they pop off, right? Before the previous game, G2 versus Order, Jett asked the question, is the Caps fan buff a thing? Yes, his Zoe
I think so.
was phenomenal. And I just want to have a little bit of fun before we get too serious, because our featured matchup presented by Mercedes-Benz, something I picked personally, is Caps versus Jojopyun. And Trevor, you might ask, why? Of all the players in the Rift? Well, it's one simple reason, Jojo's spicy tweets. Let's pull up a quick example here, because I'm not here to bring the analysis. What I'm here to tell you is Jojo tweeting, we're going to be shitting on EU at MSI. That's correct. I love Jojo, I love EG. I'm looking forward to the banter, but what I'm really looking forward to is what this young prodigy mid laner from NA is going to do against one of the best mid laners to have ever played the game, let alone the best from Europe.
Yeah, like Baby Faker, maybe. No, I would never call him Baby Faker. No one would do that to a new up-and-coming player. That would be disrespectful to Faker.
I'm out.
Jojopyun, he's just like so much youthful arrogance, and I love seeing it. Caps is just accomplished arrogance, right? Yeah. With how he's able to approach the game. I think Caps definitely, with his Game 1 performance, getting a solo kill on Zoe, with his playoffs buff, an amazing run. Jojo definitely will have the ego to go up against Caps, but I think it's going to be a very tough match.
It's just so interesting, though, because you say the youthful arrogance. That used to be Caps instead, okay? Yes. He's just more veteran now, and he's just kind of stuck with him. I will actually say that I feel like Caps got a little more mature over the course of the years as well, not just in terms of personality, of course, but also in terms of his roles as a player. He's not the guy taking all the resources all the time. You know, he was on the Twisted Fate, enabling the map as well. But I also feel like coming into playoffs, he dropped that style. Now he's on a style where he wants to take control in the laning phase, and we see it when we just watch him take on order, and he gets that first blood solo kill as well.
Yeah, what I will say about Jojo is, coming in from Academy as this like young mid laner, a lot of things you're expecting is this really aggressive laning phase, and then maybe he's not going to be very good at macro, but he's actually been very good in side lanes and making his way to team fights in an efficient way. He played Ryze more than any other champion, which you need to have good side laning to succeed on. So that's what I've been impressed with most from Jojo.
Yeah, I was actually going to say the same. Like, I feel like people have a little bit of a misconception of what Jojo actually does, because there's the memes of, yeah, oh, look at his runes, they're always so lane aggressive and all that. But, you know, he does it as well to go on champions like the Ryze, to go on champions like the Twisted Fate, to enable these sides. My counterpoint to that, though, is that Caps has just spent the entire playoffs of LEC completely dumbstring these champions, you know, taking care of teams who likes to play the map instead and then focus on the objective instead. So I feel like in the matchup between these two mid laners, there's also a difference in stylistic. I feel like Caps has become a little more lane focused, where Jojo has become lane focused on the side lanes instead.
Well, we need to find out what's going to happen in draft. We need to see, of course, the fact that G2, they just picked up a win against Order. What could EG have gleamed? They will be taken to the stage, and honestly, you could pick any single one of these matchups to talk about and expand on. I want to jump to the jungles very quickly because we've spoken so extensively about the mid laners. What sort of impact are we going to see Jankos versus Inspired? What I love about this is these two players have a lot of history against one another. And the last time they met in 2021 summer, Jankos went 12-4-24. Inspired 0-10-9. So just in terms of statistical difference, Jankos has always had Inspired's number, whereas Inspired was always good at playing almost everyone else in the LEC. So what difference is he going to bring to the Rift today, not only next to Jojo, but under the EG banner?
I actually thought Inspired played better in the LCS than when he won his MVP, if that sounds weird, during the playoffs.
Yes.
Right? Something I think needs to be clear to people is EG was 9-9 in the regular season. That's the worst regular season record an NA MSI representative has ever had. But Inspired did an extremely good job at facilitating the Danny Gold funnel. Yeah. Right? Like, he set everything up to just shovel it into Danny later on in the game.
A lot of experience in EU playing with Hans Summer last year. I'm hearing that we might be just about just about a minute away until we get to picks and bans. I can see, of course, EG setting up on stage. I want to get predictions. We will see these teams 4 times, so we're focusing on the players for today. I'm going to come to Jett first for predictions.
LCS all-time against LEC. 34 wins, 48 losses, 41.5% win rate. I give EG a 41.5% chance to win.
But that's not a prediction.
That is the easiest way to dodge a prediction of your life.
I need a prediction.
What is that?
This game, they play 4 times.
Yes, they do.
This one, I'm going to predict G2.
Okay.
When they play at like 7 a.m. Pacific time, then I'll go EG.
I'm going to hold you to that. I'm going to hold you to that.
No, we'll see. We'll see. I think G2 has a slight favor. They looked decent in that first game. I think they have more international experience, and I think they'll be solid.
I actually didn't think G2 looked too decent. I thought they were very sloppy, but I still have to go with my gut and say G2 from what I've seen from the playoffs runs. Okay,
let's find out whether or not G2 can do it. The stage is set for that epic matchup between NA and EU. Drakos, Vedius, and I think Mark, take it away.
Yes. Yes, we are also joined by none other than Markz.
Hey, thanks. I'm here. I made it.
Thank you, Jett, Guldborg, and Tobey Maguire from Spider-Man 3. We appreciated your intro. We couldn't do this on our own because I'm like North American, born, imported to EU. He's just EU.
I'm just EU.
You're just NA. So we were balancing the desk to make sure that we have actually the most biased cast ever, because this is you point this out. You have a theory here, Mark. That I think is good.
It's a long tournament. They're going to play 4 times total. They'll both likely move on to the Rumble stage next.
Sure.
So we don't need to be serious the first time. There's going to be plenty of times for building up the narratives and the players and all this stuff. I want this to be the biased meme. I'm going to be full EG. You can go full G2 because I know you want to anyways.
No, I hate G2.
And I'll sit
You
in
don't
the
need to
middle.
pretend to be. Yeah, exactly.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right, well, you're in for an experience. That's what I can tell you, fans at home. I hope you all have your memes ready. Twitter is going to be full of them. Reddit is going to be popping off. It's going to be absolutely incredible. Let's talk a little bit about draft because we've seen some pretty crazy things today already. The Wukong has kind of risen. Some people expected it. Some people were curious as to how valuable of a pick it would actually be. We didn't actually see it come out in the G2 series, the G2 game previously, but I am curious if this is something they want to bring up. What is the AD carry pool going to look like? Because we talked a lot about like Jinx being a big pick for both of these AD carries throughout the regular season and even during playoffs. And then also like, what is the jungle priority going to be? We've been seeing all types of different junglers come out today. Jankos actually went for his tried and true Viego, which he played a lot during playoffs, but is he going to stick to that or show us something new? A lot of question marks and maybe some things we can predict when it comes to these two teams.
As well as the fact that you often get scrim bubbles at the very beginning of tournaments and things like that. So the Wukong in the first 2 games not showing up in the third could be like, well, maybe people from Group C just like didn't get exposed to it somehow, and we'll need to track if one team has a better read on the meta early on. The bot lane, though, is definitely the thing that's the most interesting for me, just because Danny on champions with agency, like Tristana, Zeri, and Jinx have been his best champions. That's where he gets the pentakills all the time. The FLIOs he can play. We saw Targamas, Flakked pop off with that at that Baron fight in just the previous game, so it looks pretty good right now for use bot lane. I'll give him that.
Yeah, this Tristana is also something that we did see at the very beginning of the day against T1. Very effective in the bot lane 2 versus 2.
Hail of Blades Tristana, very strong.
And I wonder how aggressive bot lane's actually going to be, because typically when you think of Flakked as a player, he's not the type to actually try and kill you in the 2 versus 2. Targamas loves to roam around the map, whereas I do know that Danny, he has struggled a couple times in the 2 versus 2 lanes. But so perhaps against Flakked, this is actually one of the matchups that he'd probably fare better in.
And I think that we're kind of looking at everything in the context of bot lane, because it just draws my attention to top lane, because we have a lot of Ornn enjoyers from what we saw in playoffs in this matchup. But last game we saw Fiora Aatrox, obviously, which is a little bit out of the mold from the very stable tank top laners we got used to seeing towards the tail end of, I think, both of our playoffs. And I'm curious if it is going to be both of these teams shifting towards that more 1-3-1 style, having a carry on the top side of the map, or if we're just going to get like 5v5, front to back, tanks in the top lane, wet noodle fighting forever.
Gross, gross. I hope this is your ego drafts. I know, like I said, it's a long tournament, guys. Have fun this time. We talked about a little bit on the desk about the Inspired and Jankos rivalry, but BrokenBlade and Impact have gone back and forth with each other in North America before. So I would love to see, you know, Jojo try and make a name against Caps. Like, all these people have a reason to try and stunt on the person across from them.
Yeah, and I think the big thing to consider before we get into this is, while we're all very excited for EG versus G2, Caps versus the water on his desk is currently the matchup that you're watching, because he did spill, and we are now waiting for the cleanup to make sure that he is all good.
Was some low-key dig at Jojo.
I was like, I didn't see it happen.
I've been informed. I'm allowed. They tell me when I'm allowed to tell you, audience, and I've been told
players
I'm
versus
allowed.
Cups. It's a matchup as old as time.
There you go.
Cups are undefeated, I think.
So, because then you could have followed that up with that water's probably going to be the toughest mid lane matchup he fights today. You know, like already starting off vicious banter.
You're the vicious banter. I'm supposed to be the non-biased third party.
You know what? You can gang up too if you want. You do what your heart tells you to do.
I'm not going to sell my region out, but I'm also not just going to go for the dunk. I think it's not an alley-oop situation here where we're going to try to dunk on you, Mark. It's not. We're not going to bully you live and in person. That said, we're into the draft. Already seeing 2 mid lane champions taken away. Ahri obviously makes a lot of sense. Not hit since her prevalence in the playoffs. Lucian, and interestingly, the Wukong didn't show up in the previous game, but has seemed all right so far. Hard to have a strong gauge on its power yet.
This does suggest to me that Ryze could be something that EG is already looking to prioritize with Sword up on the desk. I know that Jojo is very enthusiastic about the Ryze champion. I would say it fits very much in towards his playstyle, and with it being up and available, I'm not sure if it would necessarily be a first pick, but something that I expect EG to prioritize early on in the draft.
Yeah, we'll have to see. They had some interesting drafts over the course of playoffs. They're a team that showed multiple styles. When they were in matchups they felt disadvantaged in, they could go for very volatile, lots of range marksmen in top, mid, jungle, bot lane. They were doing everything to try and get early advantages in snowball. But as it got later and later, they got more confident in their team fighting. They went for more scaling teamfight-oriented picks, but they do have that kind of dichotomy where they can go either way, which I think G2 is a team that obviously can do that as well.
Looks like the Ryze will be prioritized for EG for the time being. This does give G2 the window to prioritize jungle. The Jarvan is up and available. We haven't really seen it so far in at MSI, but it was something that Jankos would typically default to throughout playoffs. That, alongside the Ahri, was the mid jungle that really gave G2 a lot of early game prowess and kind of set them up for their mid game. You can see the discussions rather coming through a lot. Wow, already a Pyke.
Welcome to International Ego Draft! Or maybe a good pick, we don't know.
A blind Pyke. I mean, the expectations are this is in support, but I'm never going to doubt G2 when it comes to playing this Pyke in any position.
It's not even a draft, it's just an Umbral Glaive enthusiast meeting. That's
True.
That's the only thing that we've
You know what's a
seen
great
so far.
item right now? 5 champs that can build Umbral Glaive. No vision. We'll have to see. I'm excited to see if that actually ends up going to the bot lane, like you said. The Ryze is the most played champion for Jojopyun this year so far, so that's one of his main. And the the Samira for Danny. This is low-key one of his like pocket picks that he was really well known for when he was coming up into the scene. Didn't get a ton of games on it in actual pro play, but it is a significant champion for him that they were using quite a bit last year before he made it to the LCS stage.
A hyper-aggressive bot lane 2 versus 2 for EG. Looking to bring the pain to Flakked and Targamas, whereas Targamas likely looking to just get out of lane.
Most likely.
His eyes will be on Jojo in the early game, and he will have to be cautious of those support roams. But the Zeri response from Flakked is quite interesting. We have seen repeated nerfs thrown towards the champion. My expectations were that this champion was just going to fall out of pro play. Of course, she does have a few more crit modifiers now, so I'll keep an eye on what build Flakked decides to go for as we move into the second phase of bans.
It's definitely still an ego pick a little bit, in the sense that if you've watched Danny throughout the playoffs, as you were saying, not the greatest laning performance, and so you can think you can get away with the Zeri pick through the early phase, and then the late game is still largely good for the champion, but it's the early phase that has continually been hit more and more.
And it's good to highlight the early phase because Pyke, especially in this matchup, is a feast or famine champion. You hit the hook level 1 with Halo Blades, you win the lane outright, he gets to roam, he gets to do so much, but if you fall behind in this lane phase, it can get very difficult. The wind wall or the blade wall in the case of Samira, very good against Pyke in general, makes it very hard for Pyke to really do anything effective in the laning phase. That said, as we look ahead in the draft, Ornn, GP, the safe, stable top laners being banned away, and I think the draft is only getting spicier, boys.
I'm hoping so. We saw it, you know, the Fiora Aatrox matchup. I'm so glad that we're more in line with that right now, with the scaling top laners mostly taken out. Nocturne as well, that was something Inspired rode quite a bit in playoffs. They used a lot of Nocturne comps, especially in combination with the Ryze to get across the map.
I think it's interesting that both teams have removed some of the safe blind options, with Ornn being removed, Gangplank. I think it's a champion that can be blind, but you have to be very careful depending on who you're playing up against. And Impact's saying, well, you know what, we don't want to have to deal with that, especially the global pressure that it can put down. We want to make sure that our bot lane is still relatively safe. The Syndra matchup and the Anivia. Oh my! I'm gobsmacked. Caps is
I can hear people in the studio or something like laughing. Like,
okay, so I'm also a little bit shocked. I'm thinking of positive interactions here. Wall, obviously very strong. Generally, Ryze, you expect to take phase rush so you can get around it pretty quickly, but it does lock him up. It makes Grave synergy is nice. You throw the wall down, it makes the buckshot easier to hit. Similarly, you can wall a Nautilus hook. Like I'm just spitballing here, boys.
It is a decent matchup, as I understand, for against the Ryze, because Ryze is so short range that, especially at 6, you get really easy RE auto, like pretty much instantly as soon as you want that proc. The stun is easy to follow up often, as well as Ryze is running in. I'm sure Ryze will take phase rush, so it can be a little annoying to try and land it later on in the game. But yeah, I think it's mostly about controlling the lane early on and gonna scale decently well. We'll have to see if they also go for the Nasus. And we have Karthus. Like, this draft just suddenly exploded in weirdness.
The Nasus is our meme hover pick. I don't know if you guys had it too. Don't worry. I just want to warn you now. It is the meme hover pick.
Someone was trying to talk to me up about Nasus.
Nasus support was, in theory, a thing, but we have yet to see it actually locked in the LEC. That said, we now have Aatrox for the top side. This time versus Gwen, so not going to take the Fiora matchup one more time. Instead, we'll take the Gwen, further adding a little bit more AP damage to this composition. And interesting, going to get another Karthus in the jungle as well. Inspired, no stranger to farming junglers. Excited to see what he can do on this one.
So, the thing about the Anivia that I like is that into short-range comps, she's incredibly effective. And you look at champions like Samira, Ryze, they're gonna, you can even argue Aatrox as well, they're gonna struggle to be able to close that gap against a champion that provides so much zone control, especially in the river and around those choke points with the wall and the ultimate. The issue with G2's comp, I mean, it's a weird one where I say it's low in terms of crowd control because you have no like easy ways to engage fights. You have no big AoE CC abilities to kind of start things off. You're very reliant on EG kind of coming into you, which I guess they kind of have to, but they also have the option of playing through the side lanes because they have Karthus ultimate along with the Ryze to be able to attack sides. They don't have to commit to these team fights if they don't want to.
And I think it's interesting because while you did talk about EG playing a lot of crazy compositions over the course of the playoffs, G2 mostly after the Fnatic series kind of played one style. They got Ornn every time they wanted. They played Hecarim to the jungle, always engage jungle, engage support, you know, playing to enable Flakked, playing to enable caps. So it's going to be interesting to see them very much mix it up, not have nearly as much reliable CC, a lot more volatile lanes as well. This is going to be a look for G2. Not that I don't think that they can play it, but just one that we haven't seen in a lot of games.
They can't play it. I'll just lean into the NA side. They're screwed. Draft gap. GG, easy win.
All right, here we are, onto the Rift. No surprises. It might just be a fist fight at the level 1. Again, Pyke level 1. Aftershock, interestingly. Normally it's Hail of Blades, but in this matchup, as mentioned previously, it is a pretty difficult one for Pyke.
And I think we're talking about the lack of CC in frontline, some of these things. You want a little bit more ability that when you go in, because you're basically the only one going in, you can live a little bit longer with Aftershock, because you are the only setup really here for Targamas. Not going to find Danny. Good job, Danny. Yeah, good job. Stay safe.
Get in the bush, Danny! Get in the bush, Danny! Oh, he's running. Okay. All right. Danny lives another day. Is going to have to start with the Blade World level 1. Definitely not ideal, but gets to keep his life. So I'd say good trade. Good trade.
It was a bit weird what he did there, though, where he kind of like left the bush and then he kind of wanted to go back in the bush. He didn't quite click in the proper place, so he was just outside the bush. And then he realized the ward dropped a little too late, so he was forced to take that skill. So it is a little bit awkward for him, but EG getting a little bit of vision and information on the other side of the map. But it seems G2, never mind. I thought they were going to skirt around it, but they're just going to walk straight over it. So now EG will know exactly where he's starting. And the one thing that has been said in both NA and EU is inspired, very smart jungler. He is very good at using information very, very well. It's a large part of why he got MVP in Europe during his heyday. And yeah, he just does a great job of being able to track what the enemy jungler is trying to do and kind of pathing to best optimize his route and get as much jungle camps as possible.
Jojopyun already starting with the pig emote. I saw that one a lot. I don't know what it says, but I saw that a lot in playoffs in NA, so I imagine we're going to see it a lot here at MSI too.
I am not sure where the pig emote rose to prominence, what the story is of it, but we'll have to keep our eyes on the mid lane matchup. That's obviously one that we're excited about, but this might be the most interesting of the picks as well, just in terms of scrapping it down. BrokenBlade, like you said, took the Fiora in the previous game, but got solo killed by the Aatrox and looked like he reverted that one. Impact is 10-8 in heads up. 2 more wins against him from their time in North America. Slightly better win rate for Impact, so looking good for us.
Why do you sound sad even when you say that? You like sound not convinced by your own
you think
point.
I'm coping already?
Yeah, I think you, like, no, I think it's a good point, and you should say it with pride. You sounded scared when you delivered it, Mark, like you're not certain if it means anything.
You know, you could have delivered it like BrokenBlade out of fear, ran from North America, his rival Impact.
If you're
now
getting solo killed by Biopanther, it's going to be bad against Impact.
Exactly. That's the type of confidence I like. Now, Jankos, level 3, make his way towards mid. Caps should hit level 3 now.
Wall? Oh, there it is. Good setup. Easy stun to follow. Jojopyun now going to be in trouble. Caps' wall going to stop any follow-up damage from the Graves there. And they do get the early flash out, so solid start for the side of G2.
I'm interested to see him take the wall. I was wondering if it was going to be the kind of QE only Anivia that you sometimes see people go, but with that gank, I think it makes sense to take the wall there, get the flash out, and will limit Jojopyun's aggressiveness in the early game. It's one of those flashes where they might not actually repeat gank and find a kill because it's just going to get harder. But it does stop him from being able to shove and roam quite as easily.
It was a very common playstyle that we saw from G2 throughout their playoffs, which was that Jankos would find ways to gank mid level 2, level 3, mainly on the Jarvan. But when you have Anivia, Anivia provides that setup for you, assuming you can land the CC. So getting that flash out, very powerful. But of course, using that time, Inspired has that tempo advantage. So he will be 1 camp up on his opposition. He's going to use this brief window to drop a ward down. He knows that camps shouldn't be up and available, so perhaps he can look for a gank BrokenBlade in a bit of an awkward spot right now.
Yep, and it worked last game. Why wouldn't it work again? BrokenBlade might have a new champion, but has he learned his lesson from the matchup versus Order? For now, it looks like he has. He's playing safe. Or is he? Ooh, immune very early. He's going to leave that circle and he's going to be in trouble. Nice That's wall of Pain coming out, forcing the flash. Traded though. And now just spam taunting.
Okay, I mean, BrokenBlade played that very well. I thought that the moment he used his E and W, he was going to lose his life. He doesn't have the flash available. Inspired even committed his flash, thinking that he could get that kill, but the E cooldown, still very short if you're able to land that single auto. He lands it onto the minion, which meant that it was up and available. Targamas now on the roams. You can see Jojo's lane in a bit of an awkward position right now, and he realizes that that support is on the roam.
Yeah, nice freeze there by Caps, making it awkward. Jojopyun, I was talking about potentially taking phase rush, has actually gone unsealed spellbook, so does have the TP to get back to lane, but I think with Graves showing on the top ward on the Krugs, he knows he can actually walk up and approach the wave and clear that out, so gets to hold his summoner thanks to that ward by Inspired.
Little things certainly adding up, but overall, Ryze pretty decent CS advantage in the mid lane for now. Maybe, of course, post level 6, things get a lot easier, both trading and wave clear. We'll see how the matchup shapes up, as I'm still not entirely sure what to expect from Anivia as we get later stages of the game. I know the stuff I learned back in like Season 2 when people played this champion.
What's Anivia like these days?
Skype him in.
Here we go. Targamas hovering around mid.
Targamas, good stun. Jojopyun now going to be locked up. Good damage coming in as well. Ignite going down. Jojopyun going to get dropped. First blood for Caps.
So this was one of the things I was worried about for Jojopyun coming into this tournament. G2 love to attack mid. They really love playing around Caps, and with a roaming support and an aggressive jungler, it's something that they'll often try and leverage, and it all comes back on Jojo trying to leverage his early prio. The problem with that is it sets up for an early gank. He loses his flash. The repeat gank then comes through, and G2 playing that mid wave very well find themselves with first blood.
And if you're a North American fan, you've seen this before. These deaths by Jojopyun where the game can kind of get away from him. He is a really good laner, but the experience angle is something he does struggle from, and these are the kinds of plays that can work against him. Ends up shoved up, trying to get the wave in before a greedy reset, gets blown up for it, and then can he stabilize from here is the big question I think that a lot of people want to see, because while he is a great laner, the aspects of roaming and respecting ganks and warding are the areas that he can't get abused in.
And of course, our featured matchup presented by Mercedes-Benz, Jojopyun versus Caps. You can see why. It's explosive. Jojopyun, confident. Caps has a kill. You know, we're going to see. We're going to see.
And I think it's important to recognize that Jojo is still doing very well in terms of farm, his experience. He is down a level, but once he catches this next wave, he should be able to get 6. And I think that for him, the most important thing is that he recognizes this is mainly a farming. I mean, it's a bit of a weird thing because the expectations were that EG would actually be hyper-aggressive, look to try and sort of dives towards the bot lane. When you're running Samira and Nautilus, you really want to try and leverage the early strength that this duo in particular has. And then you throw a Karthus in there who's a lot more about scaling, a little bit more about buying time, but let's see if Jojo can actually get unlocked from the mid lane, see if he can look to try and set up these plays towards the bot side of the map, maybe try and punish Flakked in these early levels.
And level 6, of course, something we have to watch out for, because even with Aftershock, Pyke is still all things considered relatively squishy. Jojopyun, pretty even trade there overall, but Caps with control of the wave for now. Again, though, level 6, we have to keep an eye on. The ulti coming in from the Karthus, as well as both Samira and Nautilus ult, could be a huge catalyst for playmaking.
So this is the difficult part of the laning phase that I was kind of talking about in draft, where the Anivia unlocks the kind of RE combo, and it just is very hard to win a trade when that's an easy trading pattern for the Anivia side. The level 6 is the copium angle for EG here. Once the bot lane hits their 6, you get those dives off. You have the Karthus ult coming on top, Ryze teleporting down there maybe. But it is something that I think a lot of North American teams are not comfortable playing against, is Pyke and knowing those windows. And I think so far Targamas has done a good job of getting out of the lane, into the mid lane without really leaving Flakked to get punished.
Just going in. Smoke screen goes down, proccing the red buff as well, forcing an early flash out from Impact. No ulti available either. Are they going to go for the dive here? Ooh, debating, but do not want to overcommit.
Nice footwork there for Impact to stay alive. Easily would have been killed if he took either the needle work from BrokenBlade or the buckshot.
You're completely right, Mark. I think that if BrokenBlade had actually landed and one more auto attack, that would have been a kill, but he couldn't quite get in range, which means that he couldn't get that reset on his ultimate. Meanwhile, Jojopyun getting forced out of the mid lane matchup once again. Caps really leveraging this matchup, and we haven't seen it for a while. Makes sense why it is a good matchup for the Anivia, and Caps doing everything in his power to punish. Inspired now, hovering around the bot side of the map. They know the blue is up. I imagine G2 will just concede this for the time being as they continue to accrue advantages elsewhere on the map.
Very respectful out of G2, knowing that this is going to be going down, that it's not just going to be Inspired there, that there's other people backing them up. And this is one of the areas that EG got a lot of leads in North American playoffs, was teams would opt into a lot of fights, and EG just played them better. It wasn't necessarily like they were giga-braining everyone in playoffs. They sacked a lot of dragons, picked a lot of fights, went to weak side, and that was where they beat teams. And here, G2 respecting that kind of window where it felt like a lot of teams would have opted into a fight there, and EG would win it.
Yeah, good to not take those risks. We've seen, as you highlighted, so many of those fights go in EG's favor. A lot of those TPs coming in, the Oran Horns from downtown. This time around, it's going to be a little bit different. However, Caps is choosing the wall to get a bit of vision. Of course, the Scuttle Crab was taken earlier by Jankos, so they know for sure that this is happening. Forward in the pit as well. BrokenBlade on the flank. Early Karthus assault obviously could get canceled mid-fight, so might as well just throw down the damage early, but not too much effect yet. Fire going to try to clear this one. It looks like they might go for the 50-50, but the Herald is resetting, and Vulcan now going to be in trouble. Targamas finding the kill. Meanwhile, on the top side, BrokenBlade not immune enough. EG firing back. Herald still standing. Jankos stepping forward. End of the line drops. Caps just zoning away. They have no way to get past the Anivia ult at this point in the fight. Impact can maybe fish for a flank here, but G2 just brute forcing down this Herald.
And this is exactly what we were talking about, the zone control from Caps, but Impact on the flank.
For a little bit more. Targamas going wide on the hook, has to dash away from the Infernal Chains. It looks like...
I think Jankos got that.
Yeah, Inspired isn't taking it, so... G2 got it. Now it's Herald defense duty from the side of EG, but that's a great wall. Jojopyun against the wall. Now they're moving in. It's a big, massive fight. Are they going to be able to make it out? Jankos flashing over the wall. One more kill picked up. Jojopyun going down. Jankos dashing away. Flakked leaping over the wall to secure the Herald. All things considered, incredibly good for the side of G2.
G2 come out clean from that, able to trade 1-for-1 at the beginning. You would think that with your top laner dying for support, it would be a big advantage for EG, but Vulcan being the primary form of engagement, that they had no way to re-enable that fight. Hold on!
Targamas should be dead. Flash out, no. Gets the stun on the way out, forced to use the flash as well as the Phantom Undertow. Does make it out to safety.
Cheeky play there from EG, but you could see it was a very awkward fight for EG. Of course, both teams trading picks initially, attacking the flank. It's a very common strategy when you're being flanked by 1 or 2 people. Just attack that flank instead because you can create that numbers advantage. And the fight starts off pretty even, but when you lose Vulcan, you also lose a lot of your utility and engage tools. And then when you're playing against this Anivia, you can see how much zone control she has and how difficult it becomes for this relatively short-range comp to actually get involved and do anything.
Yeah, I mean, it was a nice realm warp by Jojo to find the pick on BrokenBlade, but without that, you then have no way to get on top of them again. And G2's zone control was really clean, and then the re-engage just better executed by G2 to find that second cleanup kill, and then to snipe the Rift Herald as well on the pickup. They got everything they wanted.
Icing on the cake, absolutely. I think those fights are going to get harder in the future if both teams can even out the gold, as Inspired now finally has that first item on the Karthus. The ult is going to be a little bit more threatening, but again, the big pick that I think we're going to keep coming back to is the Anivia, because the amount of zone control is just so difficult to play against, whether it is the ulti or the wall. We've seen it be so effective in this game when, frankly, I didn't even think this pick would exist in Pro until Froggen came back to pro play, or a buff came through, or a rework, because when you think of control mages, you think of Azir, you think of Victor. She's like 9th on the list of control mages you think of, but in this context, she's incredibly powerful.
Yeah, I went back through her patch history to see if there were any buffs.
No.
Her last change was in 11.20, and she had a base voice lines have been remastered to sound clearer.
You know, that actually makes a lot of sense. I could see playing the game with the old voice lines, and we get tilted, and Caps couldn't make any of these right plays, but now the voice lines are better. There you go.
Yeah. That was the change that they needed. That happened over a year ago. In any case, EG now standing up towards the top side of the map. And I want to reiterate that even though EG find themselves at a slight deficit right now, they do still have very clear win conditions in the form of Inspired. And when I was watching EG's games, a lot of their successes did come from their team fights later on. So I still have my eyes on players like Danny, on Inspired, and how these later team fights will actually play out.
It will be interesting to watch, of course, as we now see Impact and BrokenBlade. A bit of a fist fight here on the bottom side. Ignite ticking already. Impact with a clean sidestep, but not nearly enough healing to make his way out of that one. Clean pick from the side of G2.
Of course, the roaming Anivia coming in, collapsing into the bot lane, finding that kill in the side lane, you know, exerting her pressure over the Ryze, as expected.
This is something that Caps likes to do. Regardless of the champion that he's on, he will find ways to roam around the map. And it felt like in this situation, he was just using his strong wave clear. They had good vision control around the bot side of the map, and they were just very quick to move and find that pick. And now they're keeping the pressure up with the Herald in mid lane.
This is a big problem for EG now, because Inspired can no longer cycle Jankos' camps quite as easily. There's that brief window where we saw a couple invades, but now BrokenBlade's getting the push on Impact, Caps has the push on Jojopyun, and the only thing that EG has the push on is the top lane, or what was the bot lane. And it's something that is playing very respectfully. Targamas is always finding the right windows to roam and never leaving Flakked alone to get dove at the right times.
Yeah, and I think the difficult thing here is if Samira's even or ahead, if Ryze is even or ahead, those short-range champions going up against Grave, going up against Gwen, you can win a lot of those fights, but when you start to fall behind, especially with an Anivia on top, your side lanes get so difficult, any kind of pressure in fights gets so hard because you're walking face first into a Graves that's stronger than you, it's never going to be a good time.
And one of the things I just wanted to highlight was actually how well G2 kind of played the map in that situation, as I have to hold that point. Targamas is looking right now.
Where's he going to go?
All right, he's not going to commit to anything. But what was really impressive about that, as I'm going to see if I can bring up the minimap here, what was really cool was how G2 actually rotated their top lane, or their bot lane down towards mid, and then they rotated mid towards bot, and then they sent their top laner BrokenBlade back to base to then catch top wave. There wasn't any waves that they were missing in that whole setup. They were able to keep all waves pushed in, they caught all their farm, and then Jankos goes back to base, resets, and gets all of his camps as well. And now you can see how quickly this gold lead has actually ballooned to 3K. That efficiency in playing around these lanes is something that during the regular season we never saw from G2, but they really did level up when it came to playoffs, and these map movements are very good to see.
There's so much in common between these two teams, narratively at least, where both teams finished 4th in the regular season, had the insane lower bracket runs. G2 is on an 13-game win streak. They had the 4 3-0s as well as winning their first matchup. EG was on an 11-game win streak, so one of those is going to get broken here after their kind of crazy lower brackets. And sadly for me, it's looking like G2 is a little favored. I appreciate you not rubbing it in too much so far, Vedius.
No, I mean, I think that so far it's been a fairly, I say even game. I don't think EG have made any egregious errors so far, and I just think G2 just been super proactive on the map.
Yeah.
And I like what I've been seeing from them so far. But again, the problem for this is that as much as I would love to be mean, I've seen what Danny has done before.
Also,
and I've seen enough Samira highlight reels.
We also, to be fair, got a lot of the int out in the order game, so I don't... Because I would have talked smack in that game if I was casting that game too, if there was like an Osh representative up here. But I would have been humbled very quickly in that early game.
The reason it's a win-win if you talk a lot of smack now is because either the comeback happens and then I get to gloat, or you're just right and then you get to gloat. So no matter what, it works either way.
Yes, it's always about us. There it is.
Now the next Herald has spawned. I imagine that both these teams will look to try and contest. EG find themselves at a 3K gold deficit. With no major item completed on Jojo, they may just choose not to contest it for the time being. You can see the resets coming through. Gwen back in base, does have the TP if he wants to commit. But G2 for now, just kind of holding, catching that top wave, holding around mid, will look to push that in and then control the top side river.
And this is something that EG did a lot in playoffs. Like I said, they would sack objectives when they didn't feel like they could really contest them, and they would funnel gold effectively into Danny. But with the shift in the meta, they're not necessarily the same champions. Like Samira does have insane late game team fight pop-off potential, but it's a little less, it's more all in and more dependent on your enemies making a big mistake or your team setting you up very well because you are so much shorter range, whereas a lot of the times Zeri and, like I said, Tristana and Jinx all had this kind of like ability to kite you out very effectively and then go in after you've kind of blown your stuff, whereas Samira goes in, and either it works or it doesn't. You pop your ult, you build it up, and you're like, I hope you're all dead by the end of this.
Yeah, relatively short range, doesn't really get to poke, doesn't really get to contribute a lot. When she does go in, if it is a good engage, it can be insanely effective. And, you know, nice little mechanical plays there from Danny as Targamas still continues to fish, but for now, it looks like they're not going to really fight or contest for this second Herald Inspired, getting this one for free. So at least a little bit of positive news for EG. They are currently still forced into their tower here in the mid lane, and it does mean giving up the Drake, but they can use that to at least knock down one more tower.
I think overall, EG is not going to be too upset about that trade.
Yeah.
I think it's one of those situations where G2 kind of looked at the map in its entirety and said, well, okay, we could contest this Herald and we could take that, low health mid-tier 1. Maybe we use it to take the tier 1 and top lane. In terms of the map advantages, it doesn't really gain them a lot, whereas the Drake, in terms of as the game progresses, will offer a lot more value. So choosing to make that trade, but EG's also happy because, hey, maybe we can now break that mid tower down and actually regain some map control.
Yeah, and I think the other angle for G2 is we haven't seen EG have pressure recently, and so it might be hard to find a window to even use that Rift Herald after you pick it up, whereas the Dragon is 1, more immediate power, and 2, that kind of late game insurance policy where you're starting to stack these up now, should EG manage to stall the game out.
A lot of ifs, difficult situation, and we'll see where this Herald goes for now. Is right now G2 slowly pushing their Vision Vine forward, starting to contest little things like the Raptor camp, but a lot more resources set up on the top side of the map. EG could look to respond on the bottom side, should be an easy turret take, maybe even without the Herald with Vulcan and Danny on the way, but the wave not too massive. Going for the dive here, high risk decision, but I think they want it. They're feeling it. BrokenBlade dashing backwards is going to get knocked up. Should be easy fall up there coming in from the Samira passive. He does get knocked down. The tower will now fall as well.
Alrighty, there you go. EG on the map playing to the weak side away from the Anivia. Down, find the kill onto BrokenBlade, looking good. I was laughing at the Inspired all just coming in right at the very beginning. Karthus, I was about to say, not a great game for first strike Karthus. We haven't found that many opportunities at all. I wonder if he's just going to use it for gold soon. And then he starts that dive off with it. But it did force out the BrokenBlade's miss there so that the immune was gone by the time the actual CC came in. That was actually pretty big for pulling that dive off.
It certainly was. And now the blue buff being contested. Inspired recognizes, okay, I may have overstayed here just a little bit. Caps is gonna pick that one up. I believe that's his first blue buff of the game, and any person that has played Anivia knows how much they value this blue buff. It makes the champion so much stronger. Mana becomes significantly less of an issue, and the map continues to open up. Props to EG, they've been able to close the goal gap just a little bit. 2.5k is the difference now, as G2 look to try and set up on this mid-tier 1. Targamas on the flank.
Waiting off to the side there. But at this point, doesn't really have to push for anything. Even just going into stealth threatens enough. Obviously, if EG overcommit even for a moment, they could find a wall right behind them and no way out. Certainly very difficult for a lot of the members of their team. Luckily, their carries have flash up, but EG just not able to find that footing to force any kind of fight yet.
It does feel like it'll probably be slow for the next 2 minutes while we wait for the Dragon to come up, which will be then approaching soul point for G2. There's also less things to trade now with all of the side outers down for EG. We'll see if they want to use that Rift Herald mid, of course, to try and break that. But with how much control the Anivia brings, it does feel very difficult to find that window. So it's probably just a big Dragon fight coming up. All summoners should be back up aside from the flash onto Vulcan will be the only thing down if nothing else happens.
Yeah, I will say that the most awkward part for EG, we did talk about it in the draft, and we talked about it kind of throughout this game, but the short range makes team fights hard, but it also makes sieging incredibly difficult. Like, when you think about champions that can actually get close and hit the tower, especially the mid lane one, like...
No, it's Anivia. Like, Anivia's gonna stand there, she's gonna one-shot your wave, maybe even if they're Baron minions, and like, if you tried to dive, you have to full commit to the dive to stop her from doing that.
What's funny is we were talking to one of the designers on Diveforia about what makes a good competitive meta, and we were joking about, you know, like, oh, Ziggs and whatnot, and we forgot about Anivia stalling the games out, those old 40-minute siege games where no one can do anything.
Good news is at least G2 are trying to do something.
Yes,
Maybe the Anivia would permit them to do nothing, but they are trying to get some work done here. EG, though, responding with a Herald in the mid lane. We'll get a bit of damage down on the tower, but G2 using that TP from Caps to deny them from breaking open the mid-tier tower.
But look at how the map is set up once again. The Dragon spawns in about a minute's time. That top wave has been pushed all the way underneath the tower, and there's a way for them to catch on bot. So now what they can do is they can push in this mid wave, they can catch bot and start to set up a slow push and stack a wave to create another point of pressure, and then they can slowly start to transition their vision towards the bot side of the map. For now, it hovers around the top side, and I'm actually quite surprised. Perhaps they could even consider going towards a Baron instead?
Ooh, sneaky. They take the Blast Cone over.
Remember, there are double Umbral Glaives on the side of G2, so vision for EG is next to impossible once they lose control of an area. They're trying to get mid-prio. Maybe they will use that to check the Baron pit. Inspire touching the brush.
This is free.
But they're killing it so fast. This is the strength of having a jungler like Graves, the Anivia, Flakked. There's just so much damage on this. Yes, they finally spotted out, but no, Inspired right into the pit, not quite in time. He is going to drop here. Jankos trying to find a way out. He is going to get knocked down. At least one kill going over to the favor of EG in the meantime in exchange for the Baron. Not a good deal yet. Targamas now running, EG knowing they have to extend this play if they want to take away the Baron, but will not be able to do so. Massive, massive sneak for the side of G2.
God damn it, they're so smart! I hate them! That was so clever!
Yeah, that was pretty clever.
Right when Dragon's spawning, there's so much focus on EG to start prepping for bot side of the map, and that's the ideal time to actually throw the kind of mix-up Haymaker and go for the Baron instead, and now it's going to make this Dragon fight so easy for them.
And now Caps trying to bait out the wind wall. Cannot wind wall the actual wall, so we'll get forced away. Blade roll now down. Impact going to try to get something done. Oh, they played enough against the Aatrox to know how bad this could be for G2, but Impact not powerful enough. BrokenBlade finding the kill. Danny now needs to run for the hills. Good damage coming in, but no follow-up quite yet. He might fall into execution special. He's confident, but it's not going to work out. Forced to use the ultimate and knocked down by the side of G2.
So off the back of a Baron, G2 quickly come back out onto the map. They force the fight against EG. They find the 4v4 and they will secure their third Dragon of the game as well. G2 very quickly dominating this game.
You can feel a little bit of desperation set in for EG there. They didn't want to have to give that one up. They wanted to take that fight before Jankos showed up. Impact tried to find the angle, but this is what we're talking about. The comp from G2 just can kite that out so easily, and there's no way for all the members of EG to get off the top of a single target to start those resets.
I just feel bad for Jojo, because he came from a game where when people build a wall, there's counterplay, but in League of Legends, when Anivia throws a wall behind you, you can't do anything. And I just don't think he was ready for this. He's probably never seen this champion since he joined Pro.
That was a good Fortnite work. I'll give you that's one of the better Fortnite jokes. There you see just so many cooldowns forced out of EG or Danny defensively that when Impact goes in, Danny can't actually contribute. He's just stuck hitting BrokenBlade, who is immune. And finally, by the time that they can start walking in there, Impact's already dead, and then Danny's just like, well, we got to go at some point. That's it. I think at the first ultimate, I think I might have seen him from this entire game, which is not ideal.
And we didn't get to talk about it, but to kind of backtrack a little bit, the reason why the Baron was so smart, like, you guys heard me talking about it, right? Like, oh, they pushed in this wave, they set up this wave, these are all the things that they're going to do next. They took advantage of these expectations that you would have with the dragon spawning, and then they subverted them by literally just going behind the Baron and securing it with their very fast clear comp. It's just, really, it's been a very clean game overall from G2, which is funny when you think back to their previous game.
I think that is important, and one advantage that G2 do have is that they got to play a game on stage before this, and I unironically get the intel. Make those mistakes, play a little bit overconfident, limit test a little bit, and now that they're coming into this game, knowing it's EUNA, knowing it's a rivalry where obviously if you lose, you will be relentlessly memed for all time, you know, taking it very seriously, playing clean, playing very, very controlled.
I appreciate giving me the angle of Copium and how this is just not fair that G2 got to get their int out in the previous game.
Not what I said at all.
That's what you said, because you also, you might have not realized you said it, but you said SKT, oh, hold on.
There it is.
In trouble.
Vulcan now committing, but the hook takes him into the wall. G2 easy retreat for now. Targamas knocked back over the wall. Griefed a little bit by the team there. BrokenBlade caught out, but generally immune to most things. Impact in the meantime, split pushing. Maybe he can break down this Herald. They are going to be Jojopyun ulting in. Targamas off to the side trying to disrupt this. BrokenBlade now going forward, looking for a fight anyway, but the rest of his team is barreling down the top side of the map, looking to break open the base. It is just tower for tower, but Impact just continues to hit on the inhibitor. EG kind of coming out on top in this one.
This is a great trade for EG. You have the Hull Breaker Aatrox actually getting some work done. I thought I was never going to see any value the rest of this game, but there you go. Impact just perma-splits, is going to be able to grab this inhibitor. He might be in a little trouble getting out, but EG did a good job of also finding the split BrokenBlade in that situation. It's getting a little scrappy now as teleports are coming in.
Doubling down. They collapse on Caps very rapidly. Maybe they can get something done. Caps hoping to find Impact. But no.
Nemo's coming in.
Yeah, gotta let him know. Jankos also, this is, oh man. Saving Private Impact appears to not have been the plan. They've called that mission up. Turns out you just leave the man behind, but Impact all fine on his own.
Wow. Okay, well, yeah, EG, they did a really good job there of just punishing G2 on the map this time round. They're able to secure themselves a bot inhibitor, they find themselves a pick, and overall they buy themselves a little bit more time. They didn't even lose that top and hid, which I suppose you could look at like, on the one hand, their base is slightly more intact. On the other, that was a lot of potential free farm they could have been securing.
I like it in this situation, though, with the dragon spawning in a minute and a half. You do have kind of free push in the bot lane now, and that can give you an angle to get into the river because G2 is still stronger. They're still 6k gold up, and so you're probably not going to brute force your way through them, but this gives you another avenue to reach and contest that dragon.
And if G2 get with this kind of lead, get to the pit first, it's going to be, again, impossible to approach the Anivia. But if you are on the side of EG, if you can get set up first into the pit, the fight starts to look a lot better. You've got your own wall, the Wall of Pain, can do a lot of work if they try to push in, especially with double AP threats on the side of EG. So there is a way. However, it is still quite difficult. G2, despite the super minions, seem very committed to pressing their lane advantages. Whew.
Nice little chunk out there by Jankos, just dropping his ult before the fight starts. Drops everyone to about 75% HP.
Just a quick question. This is a bit of an unfair question, so you can laugh at me.
I love it. Let's do it.
But you know they did nerf the mana ratio scaling on Ryze in a recent patch. Do you think that affected the tank build that dramatically?
Trying to troll me? I'm sure it is not as good for mana stacking, which a lot of the tank items that you build do with Fimbulwinter.
Yeah, it's one of those things where like I haven't sat down and done the math right, so I don't know how dramatic it actually is.
I mean, depending on math's funny because you can go, oh wow, it was a 33% damage nerf because it dropped from 3% to 2%, so it lost one of the percents that you had. But on the other time, it's like, well, maybe in your full combo that's like 50 damage.
Yeah, it's one of those things. In any case, the Baron has started off. EG is the one pressuring G2 into making a choice.
There we are. Caps walling himself off, maybe expecting a little bit of a gank there as Impact just floats off to the side. can just continue to pressure on the top side. Objective bounties are up, so that tower will be incredibly valuable.
It's also nice because the wave is stacking in the bot lane. So G2, who I thought would have pressure and force EG to come into the Dragon Pit, EG actually went cross-map and are forcing G2 to stop them from trading with this Baron.
But Anivia is very, very strong when you group up into a pit. So she pushes R. It is going to force out a quick flash there from Inspire. Going to make it that much more difficult because Targamas can just sit in the darkness and hunt for this. In the meantime, they're going to get Infernal Soul on the side of G2.
Yeah, I feel really bad for EG here because the position that they are map-wise is really good for them. Impact now in a lot of danger here.
Picking up Flakked, the flash forward, anticipating it. Flakked now healing and trying to rush away. Impact in trouble. He's out of cooldowns. There's nothing left.
He had nothing left. He committed everything. He played that about as well as he could. He came very close to getting that kill onto Flakked, but the shield coming through from the shield boat, helping Flakked out immensely. The soul will now be secured. And again, I feel really bad for EG because, again, the map state for them was really good. Wanting to force that Baron was a great choice, but Anivia just makes it so hard.
I love this cast because we came in and we're like, we're going to roast everybody. And instead, Betty's just like captain of the pity party the entire time.
So I'm like, because I feel like that the play was good. I was, you know, I think that the decision was smart. And, you know, we praised G2 for their map movements and their decisions throughout the game. And I was like, well, you know, that decision from EG I think was a really good one.
Man, but if I was in your shoes, I'd be like, those idiots! Thinking they could do Baron versus Anivia. Kekel.
Wow, you're so much better than me.
You are. Just,
I'm a lot less. I'm more shameless, I guess is what I would say.
Yes.
But we're not doing so hot this game. G2 are controlling it quite well, I'd say, so I can't talk as much as I'd want to.
It is about a 10k gold deficit, more closer to 9k, but who cares? Close enough, and
you
that's
don't
an Infernal Soul.
You could always dip into the Danny narrative. When the chips are down.
The problem is Samira is sort of that champion who is like, you're getting a montage no matter what you do with Samira. It's just like, is it embarrassing plays montage, or is it like
Well, he's got one of those for the real already at the Dragon fight, unfortunately.
That wasn't his fault, though. He had to, like, God, now I'm the copium expert. It wasn't his fault. He had to go in. That was the only play.
I'm not insulting. I'm just saying, like, if you're building a highlight reel, that one would be in there. Yeah. But I think it is a really tough position to be in. Talking about the range problems, about stopping G2's push from here, there's not really much you can do other than start the fight. And given that it's Soul with Baron on, you're probably more likely to just sack the inhibitors and look for, once some of these buffs come off, once the Baron's down, maybe you can actually pick a fight. But you're going to get triple inhibs.
Yep, they're committing on to BrokenBlade. Vulcan now has to run away. It is not the fight that they wanted. They will lose this one. They are getting torn to pieces. Impact will search for the honorable 1v1 off to the side. G2 not an honorable team. They beat the hell out of him. He'll come back to life and immediately die again. Gore Drinker's good, but not good enough. Sadly, G2 just too far ahead. Danny will finally go in. He will get one kill back. Jojopyun gets a wall placed behind him, and there's just about no way out as G2 now thirst for the kills. Caps goes gold, and the ace comes out. And round one. And this 4-round matchup between EG and G2 will go in the favor of the LEC representatives.
EU greater than NA, Mark.
It's permanent, all-time, stamp it. There's no more games to play. It's doomed.
There it is. That's the NA pundit I was waiting for.
A great start for Europe on day one. 2-0 is what G2 will lead with. I was a little worried after that order game, but it seems like they really did lock it in, and I feel like that we saw a really high-level performance from the team overall in this game. Of course, they did make that blunder. I think EG did make a good punish, but there are still a lot of games between these two teams. There will be lots of opportunity for EG to evolve and grow, and I think that's going to be one of the big questions that we have for EG, because it felt like throughout playoffs, they did get better as playoffs went on. How much growth can they make, and how can they challenge for the top spot in this group?
And G2 throwing the Anivia curveball in draft obviously made a lot of what EG were trying to accomplish very difficult, so we'll see the draft adaptation day to day and game to game, but obviously an incredibly strong start, and just see when EG goes back to the drawing board, what else they have, because sadly for them, the Samira, the Nautilus, not as dominant maybe as they wanted it to be in the laning phase, and once G2 got that lead, their composition just made it so impossible for EG to come back.
I'm definitely not worried, honestly, to remove the jokes aside for a moment. This was a relatively close game for a portion of it, and things did not go well for EG. Some of those early plays in the mid lane where Ryze is losing his flash pre-6, kind of hurting his ability to roam and affect the side lanes. Like, I don't think the game plan turned online where they're forcing all these dives that we're talking about. And so from that sense, you can be, okay, good job, G2. You stuffed our game plan in the early game, but we're going to bounce back. And I don't think this was like, oh, we just got skill gapped in every lane. I think for North American fans, another draft, another round. We'll see you tomorrow. Good job, G2, whatever.
All right, Mark, I like it. Good summary.
Yeah.
All right, well, we're going to give you all the takeaways from EG versus G2 in just a few minutes, as Yinsu is joined by Caps live from Busan.
The fast-pay Wildcats from the TCL are facing up against the LPL and former MSI champions Royal Never Give Up.
Is watching. Get on board. Check the lanes. Pay attention to the best. Join the ranks. Be the challenger. All in for the trophy. This is for all senses. This is for all players. Buckle up. Take notes. MSI 2022. Driven by Mercedes EQ.
Hey, Ash, what's your plan?
A new and very serious game, Jake from State Farm, but these in-game purchases are wrecking my wallet. I can't keep sparkling, Jake. I need a sparkle.
State Farm has options like combining home and auto, so you get a rate that fits your budget.
Very nice. The gameplay is really strategic, I swear.
For surprisingly great rates that fit any budget, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Call or click to get a